This is a framework called the 11 C's of international e-commerce. And what it is, you can think of it as almost like a tick list. All of the things that when you're planning and scoping your internationalization strategy, these are things that you have to consider, cost out, understand the ROI, and use these to build your business case. The first C, inevitably, country. How do you decide which countries to launch in? If you're a more established player, if you've got retail outlets abroad, that inevitably is going to dictate whether you have a franchise operation or stores. If you've made an acquisition, that's going to be one of the first markets you go to. If you're an online player or a smaller player and you don't actually have any channels overseas, a really great place to look or to start is to think about your web stats, understand where you're getting interest and traction from overseas, understand who's converting and why and what the potential is there, and use that to begin building your case. Number 2, consumers. Well, you've got to know who your consumers are. They're the lifeblood of your market. So you've got to do your audience analysis, work out how to segment. How you segment will differ if you're a mass market retailer to whether you're going to be a specialist, whether you do it by geography, whether you do it by demographics. You need to work out how relevant your product is to that market. You also need to think about web behaviours and adoption. We're the global leaders in e-commerce and multi-channel retail. That's not always going to be the same when you look abroad. Broadband penetration, mobile penetration are good indicators of the propensity to buy and how ready people are to buy online from you. Communication. We talked quite a lot about translation earlier, so again, I'll probably skip through these, but communication covers marketing, it covers all of your service, your customer service, all of your content. And if you've made the decision, it's a very easy one to do, to say local language content is necessary. What it does is it throws emphasis then on how you're going to provide that. Because this is about the business case. Are you going to go to a third-party translation company? Do you think you can do it perhaps more economically in-house? And if you're actually going to resource up with people, are you going to have them offshore or are you going to have them onshore? All of this will feed your business case. And the impact on cost and ROI, you're going to be keeping a very close eye on. And even if you have sort of a centralised in-house resource, one of the most important things, and I tend not to make recommendations without really naming people, but the one thing I'd always recommend highly, on-the-ground marketing support. You are never going to know the media consumption and cultural taste of another country as well as someone who lives there and breathes there. And one of the things that I did sort of forget to introduce is get on a plane and go and visit your target markets. Go and live and breathe them. Go and do some research there and understand what they're like. It will be money well invested. 4, culture and climate. So countries will vary dramatically in terms of their culture. Design is a really good instance of that. So in Sweden, design-wise, they like functionality and simplicity and speed. In France, it's very much on design values. The Chinese are savvy bargain hunters. They look for price and they're quite text-heavy in terms of their design. Other areas of content, you have to think about your imagery. Perhaps in fashion, model and content shots. They may not go down well in other areas such as the Middle East. And then there are operational issues. If you're exporting if you're operating abroad, public holidays, working hours, they may all differ. These are things that you have to find out when you're internationalizing. 5 is customer service. So we talked about customer service and it being a sort of essential part of your customer proposition. How are you going to handle your order and queries from multiple time zones? How many languages can your existing customer service teams support? Do you need to find a new provider who can support them? And where do they sit? And how much do they cost? So we spoke a lot about competitors, and this is also a bit marketing 101, but you do have to think about, do a full audit of your competitors, look at them, work out where they're marketing and what their mix is, try and understand how much they're spending. Analyse their service proposition. What's their returns proposition? What's their delivery proposition? How much are they charging? What's their market share? What's their positioning? All of these will help you identify what your competitive advantage is, and playing to your loyalty, your heritage and brand status is important. And you have to include not just local competitors, but other international competitors in that mix as well. Currency and payment. So allowing someone to pay in the currency of their territory is the most important thing, and that's often sort of the big next step, enabling that. But then payment types differ quite dramatically according to the country that you're in. So Germany is a great example. The dominant payment types for online shopping are direct bank transfer or invoice that go under the names of ELV and Klarna, as you see there. Scandinavians like cash on delivery. The Chinese used to favour that, but we see swings in that. That's changing. So you really have to have a conversation with your payment service provider and think about whether they can provision for that. And that will show in your conversion, your not just conversion, but your KPIs across the board. You can't just build your business case by taking UK-based KPIs and transposing them, because your range will be different, the propensity to buy will be different, your audience will be different, your market awareness will be different. So looking at that spreadsheet and playing with some of those numbers and doing the sensitivity analysis is key. Channels, I'm racing through. So channels, if you have stores, and that's going to dictate, but really what the service is, can you return to a product to a local store is going to be really important. You might have to navigate some of the contracts and relationships with your wholesalers and franchise partners who might feel threatened by the fact that you're launching direct services in that country. 23% of online sales are on mobile devices globally now. You can read, right? So site visits are up. We know that mobile is a game changer. We know that tablets are a game changer. What does that look like in your new market? What does that do to how you're going to develop your site? Do you need to take a mobile-first strategy? And the most advanced retailers are optimizing their content experience across devices. Content. So it's not just about translation. It's about your content strategy. You have to provide for that. And again, it's a cost line in your P&L. So you need to think about what's appropriate to each market. And this is about technology as well. Your content management system has to be able to cater for different types of content served in different markets. Finally, crew. Often thought about perhaps at the end, but one of the most important things you need to think about: who is going to run and manage your international site, and how are you going to manage your processes? What ways of working might need to change if you're going to actually run that site successfully?